Okay, good evening, everybody. I think we'll make a start. If anyone pops up, I'll let them into the meet as we go along. Welcome to the STEM TENZ webinar. This is our first webinar that we're testing and trialing for you today. Hopefully we can do some more things like this in the future. Bear with us. This is our first time doing a webinar like this. And we just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's contributed at the beginning. And we'll start the meeting. To scroll on, Wendy. Thank you. So TKF for today, everybody looks like has muted microphones, so thank you for that. I think everybody's used to this after having lockdown and being online with everybody. If you have any questions at all throughout the meet, sorry, I have to keep admitting people into the meeting, please, if you pop them into the chat, I will keep an eye on the chat for you. We will have different presenters today, so there might be something specific that you would like to ask them, and we can do that afterwards, after they've actually done their presentation. So keep an eye on the chat and put questions in there. Just so you know, this session is going to be recorded. It will be available on the TENZ forums and TENZ resource website at the end. So if you don't particularly want to have your face on video camera, if you could please just remove or stop the camera from presenting, then this is your chance to do that. So we are trying to record for future as well.
Kia ora koutou. E rere tēnei mihi I a mātou, manaaki tia mātou, arahina mātou, I a mātou mahi, I tēnei kaupapa, I tēnei rā. Welcome to our first TENZ effort, and you'll probably cross your fingers that it's all going to go well. My name is Wendy. I am involved with TENZ. My background has been technology teaching. I've kind of done all the range, but my specialty subjects to start with is food and the materials area.
Hi, I'll introduce myself now. So my name is Sarah Washbrook. For those people who don't know who I am, I'm on the TENZ Council too. I am currently at Remarkables Primary School, but I've been teaching technology for over 20 years in the UK and in New Zealand. Essentially, my areas of expertise have been hand materials and DVC, but now I'm fully integrating all aspects of STEM and technology together, predominantly for years 7 and 8 at the moment. I'll be talking a bit more later about what we do. Thanks, Joyce.
Kia ora, I'm Joyce. I've been teaching for about 20 years here in New Zealand and in the UK. Currently, I'm teaching in a STEM position in a local secondary school. I would say my specialist subjects are all of them in technology right now, and I'm slightly going into science. But nice to meet you all. Hope you have a good evening.
So you've just heard a little bit of us all talking about TENZ. What is that? TENZ is a collaborative professional network supporting teachers at all levels of teaching technology. So we have members from ECE, early childhood, all the way through to tertiary within our system, or within our group.
Kia ora, it's Joyce again. Just for some housekeeping, we just need to let you know that we're all organic and natural at this. So this is all our first time. The presenters are all giving up their time to present their work and share their practice from around New Zealand. We just ask that, we just be a bit respectful and just be kind to each other. Yeah, and all the pictures that have been shared today have got the school's approval, and yeah, and hopefully you'll be able to make contact with the presenters and enjoy the sessions. Kia ora. Okay, in today's agenda, we've got going to start off with some questions around what STEAM and STEM is, and then we're going to have about 11 presenters sharing around their practices, ranging from primary school right through to secondary. Towards the end, we're going to have just a question answer discussion session after the presenters have spoken. And then at the end, we're just going to talk about how we can move forward as TENZ members to support you with your practice. And we've got a questionnaire for you to fill out.
Okay, so we're going to start the conversation today. I know everyone's a little bit tired because it's the end of term and we've got to try and get everyone in the right headspace at the moment. So what we're going to use is a digital tool called Answer Garden. Some of you may have come across it, but for those of you that haven't, it's a collaborative digital tool that allows you to pose a question, and it's a little bit like Mentimeter if you've seen that. It allows you to put in up to 40 characters as an answer, and you can submit as many answers and entries as you'd wish. So what we're going to do is just give you 5 minutes to click on the link in the slideshow. If you notice on the slide, the bit.ly's there again, for those of you that haven't had a chance to put that in yet. We're going to give you 5 minutes to pop into Answer Garden and just answer the question, what is STEM or STEAM? What do you think it is? What are the key words or the key ideas that pop into your head as you think about that question there? 5 minutes just to have a look at it. Whilst you're in the Answer Garden, I'll keep an eye on it. There is a refresh button on there, so you can refresh it and you can see in there as many times as you want to the different words that come through, and see if there's some that are more popular than others. So a couple of more minutes just to have a look at the Answer Garden. I'm going to go and have a look in myself. So if you click on the link in the slideshow, we'll see if anyone's been brave enough to put something in there. So what's great about Answer Garden is you can type in as many answers as you'd like to. And if there are any answers that are repeated, and this is what's great to do this with your students in your class, then the words actually get larger, so you can see which ones are the most popular. Someone's just saying it's not working. So what I'll do is for them, I'll just pop the copy a link in the chat and see if that link will help you. Someone's just coming, can't see. Okay, I will pop the bit.ly for the person who can't see. And then you can have a look at the slideshow yourself. I'll just make a copy of that. Couple more minutes just for some more filling in of the Answer Garden for those people who are in. Michael, I'm just putting a link to the slideshow in the bit.ly so that you have access to the slideshow so you can go through it if you can't see it on the Google Meet. So you can go through at your own pace. I'll just refresh the Answer Garden, see what's happening. Oh, some more stuff coming in. Fantastic. Big and bold on my screen is the word creativity at the moment for the STEM. So Answer Garden is a great little digital tool just to get some different ideas and thoughts from students in your classroom. What I will do with this is I'll take a screenshot of the final Answer Garden, as it is a collaborative tool, and in the slides I'll put a slide after this one with an image, a photograph of this, so that everyone has it. So coming through. Okay, so looking at the answer garden, we've got lots and lots of different things. So what is STEAM? Up on top is actually now integrations coming through quite strongly. Creativity, collaboration, authentic, hands-on, problem solving, exploration, inquiry. Lots and lots of real useful words and ideas coming through in here. Problem solving is now making a big comeback. Sorry, I'm looking at two screens here at the moment, so that's why I'm not looking at you. Fantastic. Design process is coming through. Wow, what a great place to start from. Lots and lots of really good ideas coming through on this answer garden. So what I'll do, like I said, I'll take a screenshot of this and I'll pop it into the slides for you guys in the future. Wendy, would you like to move us along in the slideshow and we'll make a start on the next part? Great to see that everybody is ready and raring to go here.
Hello again. It's really, really awesome that we've got a range of kaiko from around New Zealand here presenting just their practice, right from primary school right through to secondary, as I said. And I'm quite interested to see what people are doing. And the first off person is going to be Sarah, who will start off the presentations. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so like I said, sorry, I'm just going to admit someone else in. I seem to be host at the moment. So like I said before, I'm at Remarkables Primary School. Really, I started STEM teaching, looking at STEM and what STEM is over the last 5 years once I started at Remarks. Prior to that, I was more specific in different technological areas. What we wanted to do was try and have fully integrated programs. I noticed on the answer garden, integration came through quite a lot through this. So one example of a really successful STEM program that we've had at Remarks over the last few years is a collaborative project. Now, it started in 2017, as you can see on the chart. What it was we were approached by Luma. So for those who don't know, Luma is a light festival that happens down here in Queenstown. Where there are lots of light sculptures and there are thousands and thousands of people that walk through every year. And so what we did was we had a look at introducing Luma Light Festival. This is where the A in STEAMs came through as well with arts. And we looked at science. So the first year, you can see there's a little 3D printed creature. That was a design using different kinds of geometric shapes, and we used the scientists from Auckland University in fact, actually, Susie, you've probably seen her with all the COVID stuff recently. Her team, they have a research lab called the BioLab, and they use bioluminescence to help try and find infection in the human body. So with the year sixes, we started by looking at microbiology and bacteria and germs, and then we got the team down from the BioLab at Auckland University, and they came down, and what they did to try and raise some money is they actually created these Hawaiian bobtail squid, and they were 3D printed, and they injected this bioluminescent material, which is basically snapper guts, which glow in the dark, which I didn't realise until we went through this project. And so we injected this snapper material into these 3D printed sea creatures, and we put them inside a tent, and when you shook them, they glowed naturally, which was amazing. So we've done a lot of research. The theme for Luma that year was looking at plastics and sustainability. So lots of links with social sciences as well as science and plastics in the ocean and how it affects marine life. We went through a whole design technology process to actually create these. We also worked with the art teacher, and they created sculptures for that year as well. Lots of maths involved in this. They had to be very accurate and precise. They had to be done to scale. We had to use measurement. We had to use geometry. If they weren't quite as accurate with their scale and thickness of the outer shell, then we had to 3D print with glow-in-the-dark plastic. So that was our first year, and then it got bigger and bigger. So in 2018 and 2019, we actually collaborated with other schools in the basin. There's always a theme at Luma, and it's still sustainability down there at the moment. And so looking at the wider effects on the community and globally. And you can sort of just about see these funny little jellyfish pictures on there. That's using recycled materials. So we use materials that would normally be thrown away, and we created an under the sea effect there with another primary school in the basin too. So that was 2018. In 2019, we looked at creating lanterns using patterns and fractals and symmetry. And these ones were using old PVC piping. So reusing and recycling once again. So for the whole Luma project, we worked with lots of different people. We worked with the light installation as well, the stakeholders there, and we created something that was real and authentic, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So that's just one example of a really successful STEM program that we've done at Remarkables. And as you can see there, the year levels actually vary all the way through now up to year 10, because we worked with the high school as well in the last year or two. What I find through the STEM program, we've had lots of other STEM projects we've done. We usually try and integrate with classroom teachers as much as possible. We do lots of things linking to our local community, so that local curriculum aspect. Real deep learning goes on because it's authentic, there's a real need for it. Lots of different themes we can link to. And what we usually find is there's lots of curriculum integration. Like with the Luma project, it wasn't just STEM, it was also arts coming in, we had social studies coming in. So we had lots of bigger, deeper, meaningful aspects on there. I've also included on this slide a couple of links there. The Interface STEAM article was something I wrote in January. So there's a link to the PDF of that, which goes through some other projects at Remarkables Primary School that you can have a look at, looking at the integration of STEM. And there's also the Technology Online webinar, which I did at the end of last year, looking at local curriculum and digital technologies, but looking at that integration again of different technological aspects. I've just seen what Philippa's popped into the chat. Thanks, Philippa. Anyone's more than welcome to come and visit me at Remarks if you wish to. That's what I've got there. If anybody has any questions for me, feel free to pop them in the chat. We're going to have some more presenters now. And like I said before, if you would like to ask questions of any particular aspects of those projects, please put the questions in the chat and we'll have a chance to talk to the presenters afterwards. Over to you, Joyce.
Thank you, Sarah. That was very insightful. And as Sarah said, if you've got any questions, just pop it in the chat. And next up, we've got the lovely Justine. Off you go, Justine. Looking forward to it.
Pomaria koutou, lovely to see everybody here tonight. It's been a while since I've done one of these. My journey with STEAM started many, many years ago down south when I was teaching in Invercargill, and it's been a passion for a long time. When I was teaching at Hunua School in Auckland, I was the deputy principal there, and at the same time I'd finished off my master's and started my postgrad at the Mind Lab. So there were all these sort of ideas bubbling away in my head, and spoke to my students one day and said, what's a big project that we could look at? What's a need in our school? And we talked about the need for more science and technology and integrating all of those subjects. So we were wandering around outside one day, as you do, and we had a couple of classrooms that weren't being used. In fact, one of them, there's a photo on the left just on the screen there, and that is the tidiest part of it. It was just used as a dumping ground. Anything that had been sitting there for 20 or 30 years, it was just basically collecting dust and not being used very well. So one of the students said, what if we rebuilt the classroom? And I sort of looked at them. I said, what do you mean if we rebuilt the classroom? And they said, well, we need a makerspace. We don't want to use the library because that was quite precious to us. We'd been using it for a lot of different things and we'd just got it back. And they said, what if we had a whole project around rebuilding a space and turning it into a maker space. So we did a lot of research around that. There was a lot of teaching and learning that went on beforehand. And basically, I had two students who really weren't engaging with the rest of the class. And they were both autistic, but there were so many skills and talents there that they had. And I thought, how do we harness this? What can we do? So me being me, I asked them if they'd like to be in charge of the project, and they leapt at it, which was so exciting. So depending on what different areas they were in, I'll get Wendy to flip to the next slide, please, just to keep me on track as well. So we had to have a very clear why and purpose. I've always shared my learning with my students, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's at university or a postgrad. And I said, like, this is what I'm aiming for. You know, how can we tap into what I'm learning at the Mind Lab and what you're learning at school? So I took them all to the Mind Lab in Auckland, and we spent the day there. Then they started to come up with different ideas around design thinking. So our whole project was driven by design thinking, particularly the empathy and making connections. So a lot of our planning, all our planning was on Google Slides and linked to the curriculum. We started with the key competencies, started bringing all those things in. Our clear purpose was we wanted a space where all of the children in the school could be involved. So my class, they were year 6 to 8, a couple of year 6s, and the rest were year 7 and 8. They had to plan this whole huge project so that it would meet the needs of 5-year-olds right through to 13-year-olds. So it was a big ask, and they had to become very familiar with all the curriculum areas as well. And learning, they wrote their own learning intentions. They've recorded everything on the blog that's down the bottom there, the Creator Ops Steam. Now, unfortunately, we did do Google Takeout when I left the school at the start of 2016, but it really did muck up the blog. So it's been recreated, but it is all their own words. So I'm really proud of them. They recorded their whole journey on that. They had to look at what was design thinking. They had to look at different maker spaces around the world. So there was a lot of research that went into this. And then they started to drag in different community members, often parents, grandparents, a person that I'd never heard of before, but one of our team members, one of the boys who was in charge of the project, he found this amazing person who was a designer. So he contacted him without me knowing. He quite often did things like that, and these random people would turn up. But he really designed this whole project. So we stripped the classroom right down to the carpet. It was an enormous project. It was weekends, it was after school, it was the whole of the Christmas holidays. And we completely rebuilt it, repainted it. The computer tables that were originally in there, it had been used as a bit of a computer space, computer lab. They repainted those as whiteboard tables. They had great big whiteboard walls that they created as well. Then the next stage was to look at what learning would go on in here. So they were interviewing 5-year-olds right through all the different stages to find out things about things that they were interested in learning about. So the next stage of the project, just cutting a very long story short, if I'd stayed at the school, we were going to create our own community garden and rebuild another part of the classroom into a community kitchen. And but it had a real community focus and a real sense of empathy, which is all part of design thinking. What else can I tell you about that? Oh, the learners created the name. They came up with the Creator Ops Steam, and they were quite adamant about keeping the A in there, and they did a lot of research as to why, and they looked at all the great inventors over the years, and every one they investigated or inquired into had this sense of purpose about the arts. So that's why they had to keep that in there. They bought all the furniture, they did the budgets, they painted, they sanded, they pulled apart the entranceway and the cloakroom, and that became a breakout space. The best place to look at what they did really is the photo gallery. That's absolute gold, just looking at what they recorded there in their whole journey. So that was basically us, and we thought, you know, why not dream and think big?
Awesome, thank you, Justine, and it was a pleasure to work kind of alongside you and hear your story while I was teaching those students as well, similar time. Thank you. And next up, hopefully it's Tanya. We'll just see if she's online. Kia ora, Tanya.
Kia ora, I'm here.
Oh, hello, darling. There you are.
You'll have to excuse me. I'm full of the flu and just had a COVID test, so I'm in lockdown again.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, but all good. It's just a cold. Well, kia ora. Justine, I've been following you for years, to be fair, so you are one of my gurus. So it's nice to hear you speak again. And like you and Joyce, Mind Lab was an inspiration to me as well. So I teach in a fairly low decile school in Hamilton, and for our man from Japan, that's in the North Island, right in the middle, just about. And welcome. So my story is a little bit different. I'm an island in my school, so I drive STEAM by myself. I have trained some of my colleagues, but as they move out of my, the team that I'm in, then it sort of drops off again. So I have to keep going. So that means that I have to fund a lot of the STEAM projects that we do. But to be fair, I've had some successes because I've run STEAM projects over our syndicate probably once a year for the last 3 years. So I'm kind of proud about that. You just can't. It's a bit like the train, right? You've got to bring them to the front, and I'm slowly doing that. So like Justine, mine problem based. So is it Wendy? If you click on my STEAM slides, please. They're coming up. No. Joyce, you said it would work. I did test it, Wendy. Hold on. Oh, no. Is it asking for permission, Wendy? Have you sent me a link? Have you asked me to accept you? Thank you. It's coming. Slowly. Sorry, people. Don't you just love technology? So what?
Sorry, guys. Just ignore all of that.
Have you got it? No. Oh, it's still loading. So anyway, I'll carry on. So hopefully the slideshow that I am showing you, which I do. So it's a template for my kids. I need to support them. They're not used to inquiry-based learning. So I teach year 5 and 6s. The other syndicates don't seem to do that as much. So basically, I have to scaffold them quite closely, but still allow that creativity and build that student agency. So again, like Justine, I do it through the key competencies. And so I give them a problem-based scenario. So the one that I'm about to show you when it loads was, I'm not sure if you people remember the American tourist that said that New Zealand wasn't actually as clean and green as we had portrayed. So that I was quite offended by that, to be fair. And so that's the problem I presented to them, was to upcycle some plastic. So Wendy, you should have that now.
Can you see that?
No.
Okay.
The little bunnies are running around.
Oh, sorry. So I'll keep going. So what they had to do is I showed them a video of upcycling some Coke bottles. I mean, it's nothing new, but for my kids, they just love it. in the project making. So it is the design learning base. There you go. If you change to the next slide, please. So you can read the article later. So the American tourist bagged New Zealand, which, you know, just not on really. And so if you go to the next slide, so I showed them a video of, you know, what you can do with Coke bottles or plastic soda bottles as an ignition to get their mind thinking.
If something may upset you, don't ever let it get you down. Don't wear a frown. If fortune should forsake you, don't ever let it make you sigh. Keep shooting high. Be a cooler, not a rose.
So if you go to that next slide, it then gives them what they're going to be learning. Wendy.
Next one.
Yep. I can only see faces now. And I'm so nervous. I am so sorry.
I can see it.
Oh, good. The rest of us can't. So,
guys, as I just said, it's all organic tonight, and it's all our first time. So let's just have a laugh together.
Lovely. You wrote me into this. You said it would be fine. So let's just skip those slides altogether. I'm happy for you to share because the link is there. If you'd like to use it. Look, it's not rocket scientist, but it's a beginning, especially for my kids that don't get a lot of this opportunity. And because I'm an island, like I said, it's not really valued in the school that I'm working in, which is quite sad. So I feel it's my thing that I should do for them. And I've had lots of success. My kids just absolutely love it. And in fact, I've had parents ask for kids to come into my class, you know, when they hear about it. So that's kind of cool. So again, they're scaffolded. They've got to identify the areas of their learning. They've also got to obviously record their journey and their design and their failures and how they, and look, failures are a good thing in our classroom, our learning space. They're the things that lead to learning. So, you know, it's another thing. The kids learning that the mistakes are the learning. It's not going to be perfect the first time. Really hard to get kids up and over that hump. But with STEAM, I find that does for a lot of them. And like Justine said, you know, it engages kids that can be a challenge to motivate any other sort of area of learning. And once you've got their fire lit, that's it. You can't stop them. And I think that's my buzz. That's my passion, is just igniting that fire. Like all of you, I guess. That's why we're all here. Yeah. So that's my story. I mean, clearly I buy everything. So I have to find ways that still interest my kids. But I can't go and buy, you know, B-bots and robots and stuff like that. So we do things like the, you know, the brush bots and the, you know, things like that with like little easy peasy electronics and things like that. We're about to start on and embark on Scratch, which I can't wait. Justine, I might be contacting you about that. So, yeah, again, the money is the issue. So I've got to think creatively, as well as give my kids an authentic experience. I think I'll leave the questions to you from there. I'm happy to talk to anyone if you're in a similar situation to me. I'm never going to give up my STEAM. I don't care. It will be with me forever. Probably, you know, moving forward, but it will be, yeah, it will always be a part of my program. I'm totally sold. So thank you for the opportunity, Joyce. I'll talk to you later. You and
Hey, thank you so much, Tanya. And look, as I said to everybody, this is all organic. This is just, you know, all our first times, including the presenters. So, you know, ka pai, Tanya, for stepping up. And I know you were nervous, and we love you for what you've done. Thank you.
I love you, Joycey.
Alrighty, like moving on to Brendan now from the Taranaki. Kia ora.
Kia ora, everybody.
When
My
would you
name,
like to present
you can
the
hear
slide?
me? I think my phone's just got off right at the time that I was going to hang up on that call.
Hang on,
Sorry
Brendan.
about that.
Brendan,
It's all
hold.
happening. My name's Brendan. I'm from New Plymouth in Taranaki, and I teach a Year 5-6 class of 69 learners with myself and 2 other teachers. And because we're primary based, we get to have a lot of fun, especially with STEM or STEAM. We try and integrate as much as possible, and especially because I've got sort of 9, 10, 11-year-olds, we build a lot of their literacy into the projects that we're offering. So we've got a belief in our hub that for the learning to be better or accelerated and deeper for the students, that we want it to be authentic. So we set them up with authentic projects, and sometimes that's us working with them to come up with those projects, and sometimes that's solely them coming up with the ideas for those projects. So as much as possible, we try and hit that authenticity, and that's a word I've heard quite a lot tonight already, which is awesome. What I thought I'd do is just talk you through 2 of the projects that we've set up, and you can see how we go about it. So I can't see the slideshow. Is that still up at the moment?
Can you not see? None of you.
No, Wendy, do you want to try and pop it back up? I have to pop the link to the bit.ly in there, so if people do have another screen or split screen, they can actually have the slides there to look at as well.
I'm just going to remind myself what's on it.
Is it there now?
No.
It's all right.
Shall I truck ahead anyway? And hopefully if you've got that open, it'll make more sense what I'm talking about. So yeah, I'll keep going and maybe it'll pop up, or if you've got it open on the bit.ly. So the first project I'd like to talk about is a cultural art unit, and we have a learning to learn model at our school, similar to sort of an inquiry model, but it's based around one of the principles of the New Zealand curriculum, which is students learning how to learn for themselves. So we give them a task, and this particular task here was to create a personal popo. Popo is one of the carved panels in a wharenui on a marae. So they had to create a personal popo that told their story, the story of their life, their ancestors, their history, their whānau, significant sort of events from their life, their interests, things they like doing. So that was the task. They had to use our learning to learn process to research. So they started looking at symbols that were used in Māori art and developing their understanding around that and looking at what those symbols actually meant. And then they began to develop their own symbols based on the stories that they wanted to tell. So we got them thinking about what did they actually want to say about themselves, and then they innovated. In some cases, they used symbols directly because it fitted in with what they wanted to say, but they also sort of innovated those symbols as well. They went about designing their art, and their first steps were on paper, and then they began to, it was kind of cardboard carving, but actually create their piece of art into a workable art form, which could then be put up or put on the wall. In the past, we've given them an option about the media that they could use. So we've had kids doing paper mache, creating their popo out of paper mache, which look really awesome. We've had kids actual carving into wood, sort of in a safe manner. We had to work out how to do that. So we've had a variety of media, but because we started this just before lockdown and had sort of inkling that something might be coming. What we actually did was just say, no, this time we're going to create them out of cardboard. So that middle image that hopefully you can see is one of the finished results, and it's using layered cardboard, and in some cases they've got the pen there. So all those symbols that you can see on that sort of middle image there tell the story of the artists. It might be their ancestors, it might be their life, it might be what they like doing, and it sort of led quite organically to a lot of students going home and talking with their whānau about their ancestors. We had a whole lot of students who actually started looking at their own personal pepeha, so a lot of good learning and a lot of good came out of actually taking on this project. We took it a step further and said, how can we get them kind of telling their story even further? So we got them onto Tinkercad, which is some 3D design software which you can then 3D print with a 3D printer. And they took either one of the symbols or part of their popo and developed it in Tinkercad. And those of you that have used that will know that that's no mean feat. On the right-hand side there, the one that says Kaimana is one of the symbols or the head of this particular girl's popo that she developed. And she's taken that symbol and she's made that for her brother. So the intention was that we'd put a strip of leather through these and the students could actually wear these, and it became a personal tonga. But yeah, she made this one for her brother based on her popo there. So a whole lot of creativity, a whole lot of problem solving, building in the digital technology there, and just an authentic use and an authentic artwork. The other thing we did was we got them to make thing links about their popo. So they spent some time, and this is where we built in another part of the literacy as well as the researching, actually creating a thing link with images and videos that actually was them talking about the symbols in their art. So if you walk into part of our classroom, we've got a middle space and it's like a mini art gallery. We put a QR code on those artworks so that students could grab a device, or if whānau were coming through, onto your QR code reader, and it will actually take you to the videos or the information about children's popo. So really awesome project. They were really into it. Lockdown sort of hit, so we've just been finishing that off. We started before lockdown and just been finishing that off. They followed sort of an art process. On the next slide, I don't know, has that come up? Yeah, on the next slide, Wendy. So the other way we sort of built in STEM was through passion projects. And if any of you are sort of familiar with the passion projects or the Genius Hour, again, we wanted the learning to be really authentic to students, and we try and personalize things as much as possible. So in the past, we've had 50 sort of different projects going on, which makes it quite manic, but really, really rewarding for the students, and the little heaps of good learning actually comes out of it. So they go about looking into a passion or an interest or something that they want to find out and developing it. And as much as possible, we're trying to develop and encourage them to choose something that's based around a personal problem or an opportunity or a need. So that bottom left-hand image, this particular boy, he's built a little hydraulic robot, and it just uses syringes and pipes, and he had to go and research that. He was really interested in engineering, so he had to go and research how to actually make himself a workable robotic claw or a robotic hand. That little thing actually lifts up, so that hand will actually lift up and the claw will actually grip as well, so that it can actually pick up things. Yeah, as I said, really interested in engineering, so he went about using a learning to learn model to design himself a workable robotic hand. A lot of learning in those other areas comes through this. So an awful lot of mathematics in this, and having to get measurements and things right. And it's mathematics in an authentic context because of the measuring, looking at angles. So we try and build the the other curriculum areas as much as possible. In this particular one, he was looking at science, so we got really involved in this, and looking at forces and looking at hydraulics and motion and movement like that. The top picture there, that's not the one of my other students built, but for some reason he was very interested in building a soft drink dispenser, and he found himself some plans for that, and pretty much single-handedly, apart from a bit of cutting of the wood and the final sort of circuitry that are inside there, he figured out how to build himself a workable soft drink dispenser. He sourced all his parts from AliExpress, so he spent some time researching exactly what he needed and actually ordering them off AliExpress. Sorry, my voice is going croaky. I'm also battling a cold. But yeah, an awful lot of learning around all those curriculum areas. There was a lot of literacy involved in this. He was reading, he was researching. Before they start this, they also have to do a pitch. So we build in the presentation skills. It's a bit like that, I forget what the name of the show is, but where they have to pitch a product and convince those millionaires that it's a good product to invest in. They follow a design process for this. So they research what they want to do, they start making, they test it, they modify it, they make changes. And yeah, Dragon's Den, that's the one. Someone's just put it up. And the end product of this, it was absolutely awesome. It was a fully working soft drink dispenser. He hooked it up to some Coke bottles, pushed the buttons, and he'd even ordered the little gas pellets that you get, or the gas canisters you get, and yeah, push the button and out came the soft drink. He was also very interested in engineering. Some of the other projects that students have done have been go-karts. We've got kids who want to build go-karts for some of the juniors in the school, so they've researched and built those with our help. Scooter stands, because we were short on scooter stands and we didn't have places for them to stand up. And a couple of girls decided that they wanted to make organic, healthy dog treats. We said, well, can't you just copy that off the internet? It's already there. They said, no, we actually want to make our own line and work out what fits with our dogs, because our dogs have some allergies. So they went about using a design process again to create organic, healthy dog treats. I tried them. They were absolutely terrible, but apparently their dogs love them. So yeah, that's just a couple of ways that we go about developing STEM, or using STEM or STEAM as avenues for learning with our students. And yeah, as much as possible, that authenticity to the student, solving problems, looking for opportunities that they can develop their passions and interests. So as the others have said, happy to answer any questions at any point, or if you want to make contact with me, that's cool.
We've got one question, Brendan, actually, from Lena. It says, how long roughly would students have to develop their products? Can you spill over into the next term if needed?
Yeah, we did. These ones typically sort of take about a 10-week process. The first couple of weeks is finding out or discovering what you actually want to do, and that can take some students a while. And then they make a pitch where they've got to pitch to an audience. And then the actual making part is probably about 6 weeks, and that's 6 weeks of making and testing. It kind of depends on the project. So these ones are a lot more involved than some of the other ones. So it depends on the complexity of it. But yeah, we're certainly, some of them spilt over to the next term, which was fine by us because the learning was so rich and so deep.
Thank you, Brandon. That was really insightful. I mean, it's really good to see a primary school teacher following design process, technology process. Kapai, well done. Thank you for coming on board. Next up, we've got lovely Jordan, and I've got your lovely earrings on just for you, so you can be starring away. Thanks, Jordan.
Hello. It's quite nerve-wracking going after all of you guys, because you guys have all got like really amazing things to talk about, and I feel like mine's not like that. I'm Jordan. I teach year 0 to 2, so mine is like the way other end of STEM or STEAM integration. I was based in Auckland, then moved to Taumaranui, and now moved to National Park, so like literally in the middle of nowhere. like literally there's nothing around. So mine is more, I see you guys all laughing, it's really fun. Funny. Mine's more like just some stuff that we've been doing recently at the moment. I am new to the school, so new to the students, and I have like a huge range, obviously being year 0 to 2. I've got some kids that are like brand new to school and some students that have been there for 2 years. So what we've been doing at the moment is, our theme at the moment is fairy tales and narrative. So we've had some STEM challenges and activities that have been linked to fairy tales and nursery rhymes that kids can do. And these are real hands-on. We do a lot of play-based learning, so trying to explore those concepts, making it really fun and creative. Basically, there's like a prompt or a question linked to a narrative or a story or a nursery rhyme, and then they go off and they decide how they want to respond to that. So it could be art. I have some really arty kids that just love to draw their beautiful picture, you know, with all the glitter and the sequins and the pom-poms, and that's cool. I have a lot of hands-on boys that build these like intense looking responses out of Lego that are like multi-purpose with catapults and all this stuff, which is real great. And then there's like the free-flowing kids that just really just follow along and just like hands-on fun stuff. They can work by themselves with a buddy or in small groups, and we share everything that we do on Seesaw for evidence, documentation, and for families to really see like what's going on. That one in the bottom left, we made wands, but we made wands out of branches, which was actually really cool because it incorporated nature, because they were all like, oh, where's our like wand stick? And we were like, cool, well, let's go find a stick. So they had to find like the perfect stick to use for the wand. So that of course took half an hour because some of the sticks were bent or, you know, weren't the right size, and they wanted to chop some down from a tree. So it was very interesting, very intense. You know, me thinking it might be like an hour-long lesson ended up being 3 hours because they had to find the right stick. Yeah, so it's lots of fun. We're working on design thinking at the moment, but it's a very teacher-led, drawn-out design thinking, like watered-down process. And we're doing that with creating a garden. So our whole school of 42 students in 2 classrooms, we are redesigning our garden. So as a whole school, we're working through that, which is cool and lots of fun. So yeah, that's basically what we've done. I've done STEAM before at previous schools, but this is what I'm doing at the moment. It's actually really quite cool because my kids are like loving it. They lap it up. So just sort of, yeah, that's all I've got. Yeah, sorry. Thanks. Good times.
Just like, sorry. Thank you, Jordan. I was just saying that it's awesome that we can see integration in the junior school, and thank you for sharing, and hopefully you can come on board next time. And I would like to introduce the lovely Philippa Dick from Dunedin, my hometown. Yay.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for getting me involved in this, Joyce. So I'm Philippa, and I work in some schools in Dunedin. So I've been teaching for over 20 years, but I'm currently, I teach kids in schools just as 3 different schools, and then I also work in a cluster of 5 schools. We got funding from the Otago Community Trust for an innovation project. So that's been my job, is to teach the teachers and to try and inspire them to be doing more in their classrooms. I'm currently really envious of all of you who are able to work on those long-term projects and do that really deep, rich learning with kids, because a lot of what I do is 45 minutes in and out. So yeah, I'm trying to find a way to get the best of both worlds. So I just thought I'd share a few things that we've been doing. So our focus is really around project-based learning. And what I've written at the top there, creating problem solving and design thinking, and not throwing out the old tools that you can still use and still have value, but introducing the new tools. But I've learned a couple of things. One is, if you just buy all the whizzy-bingy equipment and put it in front of the teachers, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to engage with it. And it might last, the impetus might last for a wee while, but it's finding those authentic ways to integrate it, and that's where you get the buy-in from the teachers. So that's what I've been trying to do. So on the left there, it was good to see your hydraulic robotic there, Brendan. No, it wasn't Brendan, it was someone else. So we just did some work around hydraulics and bio-robotics with the kids. So we gave them different tools to problem solve with, and the videos are really wee there, but you can click on them later and have a wee look at them. But the one on the bottom left, there's a tortoise that got made out of hydraulics, and then that was sort of the most base level. And then the one on the bottom right there of the owl is using an Arduino programming microcontroller. So what we did was we created a scenario whereby the students were producing similar outcomes, but they could use whatever technology they felt comfortable with using and developing their skills in. So we just try to equip them with lots of tools. Then on the right there, you'll see this is a project we've been doing around projects with 3D printing. So we did lots of work around problem solving, and I don't know about you guys, but we had to teach kids how to make with cardboard. Lots of, all those, how to do attachments, how to do the slots, how to do tabs and so on. So that's been something that we've really had to focus on, and just getting their prototyping skills really working. So in the top one, you can see they're designing a chair for, for Barbie, but Barbie dolls don't have knees, which we discovered once they brought their dolls in. So that created a point of interest. And then in the bottom there, some students were designing pencil holders for in their classroom. So this one quite appealed to me, with the banana shape. So that was just a project they were working on. So even if you don't have a 3D printer in the school, it's still that, thinking about solutions to problems and then coming up with that cardboard prototype. And to be honest, that cardboard prototype on the left probably works just as well as the 3D printed one. It just won't last as long. Wendy, if you could please pop on to the next slide. So we did a bit with, I've just put a real smattering of stuff really. So you've got the B-bots there, but I like using the B-bots, but I kind of wanted to link it into what they're doing, and they were doing things around in the environment and rubbish and that. So we turned the B-bots into rubbish collectors, and they had to design a robot that would go around and pick up the pieces of rubbish. And they enjoyed that. It was a good project for them. And then we have the wee Edison robots, but we don't just use them for the actual rolling and driving around. We also have them, this one here is set up so it's like a checkout supermarket scanner. So you can put something under and it senses the motion and it beeps. So just getting the kids to understand how stuff works, so that a lot of what I do is digital, and just them working out that they can control the technology rather than having the technology control them. So the more they learn about the world, the more they can kind of unpack it and problem solve themselves. For those of you who've got Makey-Makeys in the schools, they're great prototyping tools. So on the bottom left in that left-hand picture was the Makey-Makey that we used. The kids, the problem they were solving was, how can we use video games to increase exercise? And so they were designing ways in which they could connect up Makey-Makeys and gamify, add an extra dimension to the game, so that rather than just sitting and playing a game, you're actually physically moving. So I guess it's the concept like you'd have for a Wii. And then just along from that is another version of the Makey-Makey, which we prototyped first, and that's a video of the school I was in. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can pause that, Wendy. That was a school that we're in, and it was their school reunion. So we used a bare conductive touch board. So it's just like a Makey-Makey on steroids. You can prototype first with the Makey-Makey, and then you get the touch board in, and you can create a proper, interactive display. And then they use the art. This is actually year 2 students, and the art that they did using a program called Doink, and they traced over photos and got some really cool looking art. On the right there on the top, I just wanted to showcase for those of you who haven't used it, the Science Journal app. It's really amazing, and it's got a great website that goes with it with so many good resources. So on the left there, we were measuring the speeds of the robots. You can barely see the robot. It's not a very good photo. And on the right, the kids were designing ways to earthquake-proof houses, and so you can put the phone on top and you can measure how much shake there is in the house, so they get immediate feedback as to how stable the house is that they've built. And then just down the bottom there, I just put that one in because it doesn't, there's no, this is just real old school. Excuse me, I don't have a cold, but I'm coughing. So I also work with juniors, which for me has been the biggest learning experience because my age group I'm normally in my comfort zone with is year 7 and 8. So I've probably learned more from them than I have from any other age group. It's been incredible, and kudos to all junior teachers and early childhood teachers. So this was just an example of just thinking about the world and how the world works. The ultimate thing that we were heading towards was designing a water wall in the playground. And so they were testing ideas. So in the first picture there, you can see there were some popsicle sticks, spoons, and straws with scoops on the end. And so the first thing they had to do was predict which one they thought would make the best water wheel. And then they went outside and they tested their ideas. And then we got some parents in, and we got big planks of wood, and they created their own sort of water wheel down a plank of wood. And then we started, the idea was to take that and turn it to a proper wheel in the playground, but because I don't work in the school, it kind of didn't happen, which is the frustration I was alluding to earlier. So yeah, those were just a few projects, but love what I do, but now I want my own class. Yeah. And just like everyone else, any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Philippa. And like, there's somebody in Dunedin there right now at Carisbrook School. Awesome. Go and see Pip. She's amazing. I've seen her at a year 7 and 8 level, and in the junior schools, like I think it was a year, I don't know, there were 5 or 6 year olds. Very cute. Go and visit. Next up, we've got Katrina, and we're going to high school now. So this is getting a picture of what things are happening in high school. Hi, Katrina.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. I'm sort of feeling a bit, oh my gosh, secondary school, because you primary school teachers, intermediate teachers are so inspiring. So it's really cool and inspires me. And I can't wait to go back and tell my seniors that some year 5s and 6 recreated their own makerspace. I think that's amazing. Anyway, so I'm at Kuiper College. We're at a school. I'm a school that's in a huge stage of transition. We've just gone to 90-minute periods, which is fantastic for all those practical subject teachers. And we've gone to 5 subjects. So school's changed quite a lot. We've got pretty much a new senior leadership team, and we're going through a whole big curriculum review for next year, probably starting with year 9s, which potentially could be totally integrated and cross-curricular, but it just depends how that unfolds and how ready the school is for change. Like one of the things, I guess, like everybody with COVID, it's pushed everybody's teaching forward heaps in terms of using Google Classroom, which has been amazing PD, which as a school we're trying to ride that wave of change, but people are tired, and so we have made a lot of progress, and it's kind of just trying to keep that happening at the same time with all the stresses going around. Within the department, we've also got big change. So I'm the new head of faculty, but I've got 8 new staff members, of which 4 of them aren't technology teachers. I feel like I'm a little bit of an island. We've got some great ideas, but it's sort of the whole thing about understanding the curriculum and what we can do. So for me, one of the things is with the senior secondary aspect, we've got the sort of the traditional vocational pathways, which in our community is really important to keep, but I kind of feel we really need to be pushing the technology aspect as well. So it's just sort of how we deal with that. And I hate to say it, but a lot of technology teachers are not our young teachers, but that doesn't mean they're not young at heart, but sometimes it is harder to break down some of those ingrained ideas. So I don't know if you can see on my slide, I'm trying to get some ventilation into some of those silos, and I'm trying as a department to bring some new thinking into the team, but I don't want to scare people off that they all run away and we end up without a technology department at all. So it's sort of just seeing how we can embed some practices that some of us are doing and gradually start bringing that across the whole team. So I'm hoping that next year we can start, well, it kind of depends how the curriculum goes, but even within the department to start doing some more integrated programs and sowing the seed. From a department point of view, what I want to do is start using our meeting times to start doing some design thinking with the team to try and sort of really iterate what kind of ideas we can come up with, and really sort of that, in a perfect world, what can we do with the resources we've got and best for our students. But unfortunately with COVID, our meetings have become a little bit having to tick some boxes and get through a lot of admin. So maybe next term that will happen. But anyway, some of the things I've been doing, and so in terms of sort of the STEM ideas, it's sort of been quite ad hoc, and it's been sort of finding like-minded teachers around the school and sharing ideas on that score. So our first project, we have year 9s for a term, so twice a week, so 90 minutes twice a week for a term. And that project's been taku haerenga, so it's the students thinking of journeys that have some meaning to them. It could be a journey to Hogwarts, it could be a journey up north to where the town to Whenua is, and it's been sort of based on sustainability and applied design. So we've been using sort of some freehand drawing and some using basic Google drawing skills, and some students have used poker work, we've used Cricut machine, but all based, and I was just thinking, schools with limited resources, we've got a fantastic tip shop, and I was getting 5 pieces of clothing for $1. So it meant that those students that couldn't come to school with their own t-shirt or computer bag, that they could be as included as anybody else. It really made it quite level playing field for everyone. At year 10, we have 2 terms of that, and they supposedly choose their options, but we often end up with students that haven't chosen the subject, and so we have a bit of disengagement, particularly with year 10 boys. Anyway, but we all know what year 10 boys can be like. So their project, we had Te Aroa Treasures, and that's our local area, and so we did a sort of research, bit of design thinking, but some research around our local area, what some of the local history was, stories from local iwi, and then students designed a souvenir based on some of the sort of hotspots around Helensville, really. So that was pretty cool. We didn't manage to totally finish the project because we all ended up at home for a number of weeks. Our second project with these guys was Go Global, Start Local, and that was developing solutions locally, but using the United Nations Sustainable Goals. And those resources, if you haven't seen them, are fantastic. They're absolute great resources. This one I've linked in with our business teacher. Just really at this stage, it's more sort of an ideas thing. We're sharing our planning and sharing our notes and things, so that maybe next year we can, or even later this year when we change terms, that we can work together on that. So yeah, it's sort of little bits and pieces happening. With my year 11, so our Digitech teacher is actually a maths teacher and is new to the department, but she's been really cool, really taken on sort of a technology project-based approach, and her guys are creating animations based on local issues. They've got animations about plastic being eaten by fish, water issues, that sort of thing. On top of all this, which is really exciting, is that we're getting, supposedly starting next year, $24 million rebuild that's going to be a technology and innovation centre. So year 11s, we've got 3 students that are actually part of the consultancy team, and so trying to work with the DVC teacher to sort of be a little bit more flexible so these students can actually hook in and use that as an authentic project. So, you know, it could be phenomenal. They could be helping design parts of the new school. So that's exciting. I hope it can pull that one off. And then with the year 13s, this is sort of really my area. So I'm really textiles is my kind of passion. One of my year 13s is design student as well. And so we're actually working together with the art department. So she's working smarter, not harder. So that really will be a nice sort of cross-curricular project, which, you know, again, this year with the stress and anxiety of senior students and getting credits, anything that we can help the students work smarter, to me is a bonus, and just to keep that anxiety down, particularly with these portfolio-based subjects. Also, another student, again, with the art department, she's a painter, photographer, and fabric tech, and her project, she's going to look at natural dyeing and using that to create a garment, but also linked into her photography. I don't know if you can see the bottom right is a picture. This was actually today. So we had the Enterprise Business Day. I've got year 13 boys using the laser cutter, and they were making little key rings. And before they'd even left the class, the first 15 rugby boys had seen them and wanted key rings with the school logo on. And I think they've put a QR code on the back of it for something for the rugby. But what was lovely in here, it might not be unusual to some of you, is that this is a class with the year 9s in at the same time. And it was so nice to have year 9s and year 13s working side by side. It was really kind of quite exciting. So sort of that's a snapshot from me. So I feel like I'm a little bit of an island, but so delighted that we've got sort of movement with a new curriculum, particularly for year 9, that looks like it can be hopefully like a fully integrated year 9 program across the whole school, which, yeah, can't wait for that to happen. So yeah, that's me. Thank you. Not hugely exciting. I think primary school teachers win that bit hands down. So thank you, everybody.
Kia ora, Katrina. That was absolutely amazing. And thank you. You know, we just need to see what's happening, and, you know, it's amazing what you've just shared today, you know, what you're doing in your classroom. And it's all about sharing our practice across. And no, you're not an island, because you've got all those like 32 people online today to network with. You're not on your own, lovey. All right. Thank you. And the next slide is from Malcolm Clark. And I think Sarah is going to speak to that. Am I correct?
Yeah, just a quick overview, really. So Malcolm's not here today, but he's got some amazing resources that he's prepared in Classroom. So on the slideshow, there's loads of links there to some of the lessons that he's prepared. Malcolm works with me on the DITA committee as well. So we've both been working with microbits. So those people who don't know microbits, they are a much cheaper resource than robots, essentially, and I actually prefer them in a STEM situation because they're much more practical and hands-on, and you can use really cheap materials with them. So you can see on the video here, they've got a reaction timer in Malcolm's class there, and it's just cardboard and foil. So you can do so much with a microbit, and it is fully integrated. So you can sense things, you can use accelerators, it's got a compass in it. If you even don't have a microbit, you can use the MakeCode online, and you can still program it, and it has a simulator there. So students can still actually use the MakeCode programming with a microbit too. So it really is an awesome resource. I've been using microbits recently for looking at mindfulness and emotions, because you can do emojis and make animations. I've got them doing it so through Bluetooth. I've been able to chat and send messages to each other across the classroom and across the school. Whether we want students to do that or not is another matter, but they enjoyed that. I've been lots of integration with music. So there's lots of different integration with different different curriculum subject areas to the microbit. So I'm just going to leave that there for you guys to have a look at in your own time. If anybody wants any information on microbits, I have run workshops on that, and I'm willing to share slides if anyone's keen. So thanks, Joyce. Do you want to move us on to the next person?
Yeah, and next person we've got on is Lena, and she works at another primary school in Auckland. So awesome. Hi.
Hi there. Sorry. It's been a while
Very
since
good.
I've done a Google Meet. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
First thing, it's so lovely to meet you all because, you know, you talk about an island, but I feel like I found my people. That's right. Because like a lot of you, I work all by myself, and I do classroom release, have done since 2012. And when we first started out, it was science and technology based on a vision that my principal had when she visited Scandinavia, and she saw basically integrated learning and sort of nature intruding into the classrooms and that sort of thing. So we built that based on her kind of inspiration. So this is actually the first year that we've focused on STEAM as an approach. But the benefit, I guess, is that we've had a few years to look at the skills that a scientist would have and a designer would have, and then they have a bit of a platform where they can see how they will connect. We're also just starting an Enviro Schools pathway as well, so I'm hoping that we'll be planning in a more integrated way next year, but we'll sort of watch that space. So I work with year 2 to 6. I teach about 600 students, and when I first started out, it was a 45-minute slot every week, which is a little bit intense. But then I've moved to a 90-minute slot every fortnight, which is a little bit interesting in terms of continuity, but just having the space to try something and then reflect has been working a lot better. So that's been fun. I've just put up a couple of links to kind of the fundamentals that we focus on with, especially when we're starting out with the juniors, the science capabilities, which is what the kind of like the toolkit of skills that a scientist would work with, and then the tech process is the other big one that we sort of focus on when we're building a solution to something. So if anyone wants to look at that later, that's where they're there. Wendy, moving on to the next slide. Thanks. We probably do the most integrated and authentic learning with the year 5s and 6s. And traditionally we have our first projects as camp fundraising, because I think they have to raise upwards of $14,000 every year for camp. So they get really excited by that. And we've been doing ice blocks for a little while. So they go through the process of surveying students and finding out favorite flavors and before they start making. But this year we decided to go a little bit more STEAM, and with the help of people like Wendy. So thank you very much, Wendy. We were just in the process of trying to connect with experts to go down the road of hopefully 3D printing our own models. Our molds for ice blocks. But lo and behold, COVID-19 kind of put this skids on that one, because it was the food hygiene regulations made that a little bit tricky. But we did get into using Tinkercad for the first time, which other people have mentioned, and that's fantastic because you can set up classes really easily. It's free and students can access it at home and carry on if they're really inspired. So it also, there was some really good PD with kids game dev, and they do courses out at MOTAT and game development for video games. And Tinkercad, you can create objects and then import it into Construct 3, which is the site that they use. So that was really nice to see how that all connects together. So I'm sorry, I think we're on to the next one now. But what I did find though, when we first started out this year, we wanted to try and get the idea across that that you do pull in all these different skills together when you're working in STEAM, and just getting the concept of STEAM sort of solidly understood. We basically did mini challenges. So the big idea was mahitaki, because we do get a lot of people who are quite keen to work solo, and I like that if they get a chance to sort of follow their own interests. But when you're trying to work together, it is nice to be able to sort of say, okay, well, this is how we work as a team. So we've done everything from building Lego bridges to paper roller coasters. And we had our science. We were sort of looking at the idea of gathering data and measuring, so how much weight they could hold. And then for the roller coasters, it was how long or how many minutes you could keep a marble moving. So those were quite nice ones, because we had the Lego, but with the roller coaster, it was recyclable materials, and everybody started from the same point, same materials, and it was quite cheap to run. I think I saw the link for it shared on either TENZ or the New Zealand Primary Teachers page, so that's where I got my idea from there. So that's been great, because you can have a mini challenge, go through the process, and then by the end of it, you can have time to reflect on what worked really well and what wasn't working so well. So what I'm hoping is that we can have everybody working fluidly with a variety of people by the end of the year. Sorry, I don't think there's one more. I think the next one is just photos of the roller coaster challenge, and that was quite cool because there was room for them to come up with their own solutions, and then also problem solving. The guy there who's looking down the pipe, we were trying to build like a network that, and then the joints, I think, were catching the marble in the way. So that was quite good in terms of achievement and yeah, just building confidence. There were some people who maybe didn't always plug into design until then, but they just, those little mini victories really helped them feel quite good about themselves. So that was really nice. I think I went cray on the slides there. There might be, oh, that's me. And yeah, thanks for everybody, and it's really lovely to meet you all virtually.
Hey, thank you, Lena. That's amazing. I really appreciate your time and effort you've put into this. Awesome. And we've got a couple more people to go. Thanks, everyone, for being patient. Next up is Rita. She's an amazing secondary school teacher. She's a Heston in the making.
Thanks, Joyce. Kia ora, everyone. So I'm Ritu, and I teach food technology at Lake Boys High School. I think my journey has been inspired by a lot of you who are here tonight, especially Leslie, who was my associate teacher when I was a student teacher. And then Wendy's been my head of food technology at two schools, Tekapuna Grammar and Epsom Girls Grammar. And to see even her journey is inspirational. Now, I think for me, it's been all about the people, and hence I really love this proverb. It is mea nui o teo ao, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. I hope I did the pronunciation right, but I always remember that proverb because it is from you guys that I build the strength and I learn, and then I can share with my students. So looking at my, I think the few things that inspired me were getting the Endeavour Teacher Fellowship in 2013. And I really got to work with Goodman Fielder for 6 months and learn a lot about nutraceuticals, new product development, and the real processes behind, each aspect of product development. Now, when I joined Westlake Boys in 2015, it was quite different to teaching girls at Epsom Girls Grammar and teaching girls at Dio. And so I had to start from scratch and see what was possible. It's so many different ways that boys learn, and there are different ways in which girls learn, I found. And what I realized was, if you let the boys go with their creativity and innovative ideas, they always find a way. And they don't stop until they've done what they really wanted to achieve, So what we started doing was, when I joined, I asked all the head of faculties if they would be interested in breaking down those silos, and we could sit down and look at, the assessments that the boys were doing. And I didn't get a lot of uptake. So people preferred to be in silos. And then the first year round, I talked to the head of faculty in English, and he agreed to see if there was any chance of students doing cross-curricular stuff. So I had a student who was developing a new product for Press Challenge, working with industry, working with experts in industry. And what we did was, once he developed his product, he presented it to my other classes. And while he presented, I videoed him, and we looked at the assessment schedule for 3.5, and he could get merit credits. The first time around he was marked, he could get merit credits for it. And then it got me thinking as to why we were working in isolation and over assessing students when we could actually find smarter ways of doing that. So when I meet my boys for the first time every year at the start of the year, I always ask them to look at standards they're doing in different subjects and share that with me. And if they link up, we always work smart, and they can. So I've got some students who are working on standards in business, and they're doing a marketing plan for a food product, and then they come into food technology classroom and they do functional modeling, development, trialing, testing, and then evaluating and gaining stakeholder feedback. So if we look at this, the boys are encouraged to look at the chemistry and structure and composition of food products, of ingredients. They look at technology, in the sense they look at the technological outcomes, the technological process, design thinking to develop products. And we look at materials, control technology, material technology, and digital technologies, and how we could incorporate that, because they not only develop a food product, but they also look at developing appliances and tools. So if you look at this picture here, Nicholas was looking at bioluminescent bacteria, and he found out that riboflavin could enhance health benefits in his product. And he looked at, so he named this project White the Glow, organized his own specialist ingredients, and then made this ice cream for the board of trustees dinner. That was year 12 last year. And so not only that, what he did was then he created that trolley that you see in front of him in that picture. And so it's a little, his idea was that it would be a little cart, like this popcorn cart that you see, and you could take it down to anywhere. It's got wheels. He did it all. So he went and saw the mechanical engineering teachers, made time with them, and then developed that trolley. It's got a plate. So he had to develop this plate that would house the liquid nitrogen. And when he would pour the ice cream custard on top, the liquid nitrogen would actually turn it into ice cream. So he also created that tool, and he looked at the DWAR and how it would fit into it, and how it would work all together. So, and then we look at engineering, and obviously look at ingredients and specialist ingredients and what combinations so could create good quality products. We look at spherification and reverse spherification as well. So looking at the arts, now students all have to design a poster at the end of it, or a PowerPoint. So they look at ways of how they want to present their work. They're given choices to how they want to present their work. So we ideally use Microsoft Teams. But then I give them the option of, they could use OneNote, they could do a PowerPoint, they could work on Drive and share the documents. So there's a lot of differentiation into how they present their work. Wendy, could we go on to the next slide? I'm baffling on. So some of these projects are already on Technology Online. And to incorporate the knowledge from different technologies and disciplines is easier now than ever before. More and more our students, teachers, and communities are connected, and it's a matter of just asking people. People are so giving that you just have to post a message, and then so many people actually get in touch with you. And this year I had Sir Ray Avery, who's collaborated with us, and we are working on free school lunches and developing some other ideas backed by research and backed by nutritive value and things like that. We looked at so we look at beyond subject content, and we look at breaking down silos within our food technology. We do what we can, and usually the projects are passion driven projects. Students, we work through progression. We don't see our students in year 9, so we see them in year 10, and we see them only for a semester, and it's quite difficult because you're competing within technology with the different areas, and then you're competing with other subjects as well, because it's an option in year 10, 11, 12, and 13. We have seen that more and more students are now working in progression and taking food technology in the senior year levels. And it's because it's more than just, here's a recipe, go prepare this. And it's more about, go find solutions. So if you can dream it, you can make it. If there is a problem, there's always a solution. And those are the phrases we always use. So if they go miss, there's a problem. And then before I can say anything, they'll go, and there is a solution we need to go find. So the boys go see the teachers. We are all housed in the same block, which makes it easier. So when I have my food technology class, they can go out and see the materials teacher. They can go see the control technologies teacher, and similarly with the mechanical engineering. Now, so if you want to look at any of these projects, they are on Technology Online, and the links up, put the links on these slides, and there are some examples and photos of what they've been doing. So this the Tandoor project was actually a student in year 13 helping a student in year 12. So I was just a mere mention of, oh, I have a student who's doing this project and I wonder if he could make his own tandoor. And he goes, Miss, actually, I work at an Indian restaurant and I'd be able to help out. So he comes early, sees the mechanical engineering teacher, does this, makes this tandoor. But then he says, oh, how would you lift a hot tandoor? So he works out how to make those bend metal and create those handles. And we've actually been using it. So we cordon off area outside, let the property guys know, and then we use our own tandoor. And then we've got a laser printer and we've got a 3D printer. So we use those as well. And because each one is working on individualized project, a few years ago, had you asked me, oh, working on individualized projects, and I would have gone, gosh, it's too hard. But now every single person in class, and we have 24, works on an individualized project, but then they're also helping each other and building upon each other's strengths. We can go to the last slide, Wendy. Thank you. So things I think that have really been inspirational, of course, has been insights into culinology, into Heston Blumenthal, looking at what Heston does, being at the Mind Lab with Justin and a few others has been really a good learning experience, and working with technologists in the industry. So here's Eamon, who actually got his English credit for 3.5 while doing this project and presenting it to the class and me videoing it. But then there's a year 10 project, Garden in a Nutshell. So nothing's too hard or nothing's too easy for any year level. So it's like, if you are in a year 10 and you come up with an idea, go with it, flow with it. And the thing is, sometimes even I don't know and I have to go learn more, because the students come up with ideas and sometimes it just goes over my head and I'll be, okay, now they are talking, they're really being innovative. And we've looked at, so when I was looking through the slides, I thought maybe we need to put something about lockdown and how we were doing food technology during lockdown. And that is one of the pictures on the right. So we did a virtual cook-off and we did that a few times. And the boys just loved it, because they had to do a cook-off against me and I had to prepare the meal in the same time during class time. But the thing was, to make it purposeful and meaningful, what we did was, first thing was, okay, make whatever. The second time it was, you have to pick your concept, one of your concepts, and develop it and then do functional modeling. So that's what we did then. And that's it from me. So.
Thank you, Ritu. And that's just really, really awesome. What you've just said and reiterated is that food technology can happen in the senior schools. And I'm talking technology and not, we've come across people that say, oh, we can't teach food technology to senior levels. And you are the inspiration to that, and keep doing what you do well. Thank you. And lucky last, we've got Leslie. Hi, Leslie. Hello. Is Leslie there? Kia ora, Leslie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, you can hear me. Right. I'm going to talk very quickly because obviously it's late at night and us teachers are exhausted by this time of the day. I've been very lucky that though I retired, I keep getting pulled back into schools. And one of the things I love is teaching children. And of course, the day I started at Carmel College it was originally just a 6-week contract, we went into lockdown. So that was really interesting. So what do you come up with? So of course, face masks. So here's the face masks we designed. So the students had to think about the whole cultural aspect of face masks, who wears them, the historical aspects. Really interesting, folks, that most of those face masks where we looked at punishment masks were for women for talking too much. So I'll try to not talk too much. And then we looked at material properties. So we looked at what that virus was and how it was a tiny little micron, 0.1 of a micron in size. And so what material could we use that would stop that coming, us breathing it in? So we did quite a lot of research into the properties of material. But of course, one of the things we had to remember that we still had to breathe through that face mask. Now, it sounds awful, doesn't it? Can you get Year 9 students being excited about making a face mask? Well, actually you can, because all you have to do is get them to design their own fabric. So that was really interesting, giving them lots of opportunities to put dyes and print. Quite a few of them designed their own printing stencils or little printing blocks, and they printed their own fabric. You can see that I've got one up on the slides, and that shows just one of, I ended up teaching 150 Year 9s. So 150 Year 9s have all gone home with a very individual face mask. Through discovery and playing around, that we discovered that it's no great science, I suppose, but we did look at how different materials would work with protecting us from a virus. So it was cotton, and it had to be sort of 500 thread count cotton to stop it coming through. But you could use a lower thread count if you doubled and you had a lining. In fact, the best type of face mask have 3 distinct layers of fabric, and each one offsets the ability of the little virus getting in through. And of course, the middle layer had to be some non-woven fabric. So I think this is just phenomenal what the kids come up with. And to me, STEAM is about that creativity. How do you take something that's very relevant, very authentic, and make it work for those students in today's climate? So the face masks work very well. What was an extra for it, though, all the scraps we used, we then thought about sustainability. So they've all come up with a new project now where they're using those scraps to create something else. I'm talking quickly and I apologize for it. Did I want to tell you anything else about that? I think that'll do, because I think it's if anyone would like this face mask unit, it's all the research, it's all everything you could possibly want. You can email me. As long as you've got a Google account, I can send it to you. So that'll be great. If we go on to the next slide, Wendy, this is what Sandy does at Carmel College. She is an amazing food technologist, just like Ritu. And that in itself is just using the people who are around. So it's that authenticity. So she went to a farm, which is very nearby, who actually breed buffaloes, create the milk from buffaloes. They sell it at the door, so it's non-pasteurized. They also pasteurize it. And she came up with this idea of chocolate milk. And a lot of mathematics go into that, because she made a huge big batch, and she eventually sold it. That, I believe, is also on Tech Online. That got a Top Scholar Award a few years back. So my thinking of technology and STEAM is, I think it's inherent in everything I teach. I love to integrate everything. So I think what everyone else is doing is phenomenal. Congratulations, everyone. And as I said, I'm rushing through because I realize it's late. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Joyce.
What can I say? Wow, that was amazing. Thank you very, very much to all the presenters. There's some key aspects I think that was coming across from all the year levels here from me. Keywords I came up with there was authentic, inspirational, iterative design process. The integration of subjects and breaking down silos is a key thing that kept coming up over and over again. And then creativity. And I mean, some of the pictures that we've seen there, the examples, you can be really creative, whether you are a 6-year-old or an 18-year-old. And it's fantastic to see some of these things. We have been answering questions throughout the chat. If there is anybody who has any other questions, well, I think because it is so late and we have had lots and lots of information thrown at us, and you guys we've all got to go to school tomorrow as well. So if you do have any other questions or want to discuss STEM more, Wendy, Joyce and myself have got emails on a slide later on. So I think at this stage we'll keep going before you guys can get to bed, unless anyone has any urgent questions. We have created this. This is just some free resources out there. There are loads of STEM resources out there in the big wide world at the moment. These are just a few links for you to go and have a look at a bit more if you want to find out some more. So that's available to you in the slides. I think Joyce is going to talk to this one. She needs to unmute.
Hi all. So we've got this last few slides. We've got a link on here for you to fill out a form. Just give us a little bit of feedback. As we said, it's all organic. It's our first time. And the second part of the form is just letting us know as TENZ Council what kind of support we can provide with resources or help going forward. So just let us know, fill the form out, and would really appreciate your feedback. And thank you so much, everybody.
So what we've done is, because a lot of people need to have or would like to have a certificate to say you've attended, so we've prepared a certificate for you. If you go in through the slideshow that's on the bit.ly, you can have access to this. It is there for you. It's a Google Doc. All you need to do is make a copy of it and pop your own name in it, and then you will have your own certification for attending today.
And look, a really big thank you. Yes, it's a bit late, but no, thank you to all our presenters who I've mostly shoulder tapped. Kapai, and we've really appreciated everyone that's attended the session. Thank you for just sticking out with us because it is our first time, and thank you for being there and supporting us. And if you'd like any other questions about STEM, STEAM, or anything about TENZ, feel free to contact either of us. Happy to help. And we'll just finish off with a karakia.
Hi. Thanks, guys. Sorry about my technical oops in the middle of that. Awesome to hear you talking and sharing your work. It's been great. So, kua mutu tēnei kaupapa, manaki tia mai o mātou katoa, te rangi mare, kia runga I ngā iwi o te ao. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Have a lovely evening.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, TENZ. Bye, Mary Claire.